Hey, hello! Welcome to another video where I will show you how I made this really awesome Worbla headpiece for my Pokemon Leafeon cosplay. This headpiece actually is really easy to wear because it has straps on the back, so you can just put it on like a helmet and you're ready to go. So for this project I used white Worbla, so Worbla's Pearly art. I will link it in the description box below where you can find it, so you can make something like this yourself as well. You can also use another kind of Worbla for making a headpiece, but in this example I show you how to use the white Worbla. So if you're excited to see that, then definitely keep watching this video, and without further ado, let's get into the video! First, I made the patterns for the headpiece on a piece of paper. For the ears, I really want them to be lightweight as possible, so I'm using a really lightweight foam, Plastazot foam. It's lighter than EVA foam and it's also cheaper, but it's also less sturdy, so it's softer. But for things like this, it's just perfect. I'm using the 5mm thick foam and I'm just cutting it with a craft knife. You can actually download the patterns for this project on my website, so it's really easy to make it yourself as well. I will link it down below in the description of this video. I cut all the pieces at an angle, so it's easier to get the shape of the ear right. Then I also need to cut out the hole in the ear, and I cut this at an angle as well. That will make it easier later when I add the Worbla to it, to get a nice shape. An ear consists out of 2 layers that I'm just gluing together now. It doesn't need to be very neat, because I will add Worbla later anyway. And now I cut out little triangles on the edges, so it really looks like Leafeon's ears. Again, I'm using the crafting knife, and I really keep it sharp so it's super easy to cut the foam. But with this soft foam you can also use scissors to cut it. It's whatever you want. Then I carve some additional lines over the ears that I really want to show in the Worbla. And after all the foam is cut out and shaped, then the Worbla work can begin. So for the Worbla, I also use a foam base. This is actually the base for the headpiece. I have a craft foam base. Craft foam is 2mm thick foam, and I cut the same piece out of white Worbla 2 times. But I make sure that the edges are a little bit wider, so I can close the Worbla over the foam. Then I heat up the Worbla with my heat gun, and then I put one piece of Worbla under the foam and the other piece of Worbla over the foam. When the Worbla is heated up, it's soft and sticky, and I can really close it at the edges with my fingers. To cut it out, I just use a strong pair of scissors. It's really easy to cut the Worbla when it's warmed up. When it's cooled down, it's actually quite difficult to cut it. But now the Worbla headpiece base is still very flat. And to bring it in the right shape, I need some help. So here is my mannequin, my little styrofoam head, and I just put the warm headpiece base over it to shape it in a head shape. And when most of the warmth is away, I can safely put it against my own head to make it cool down further, so it will actually be the shape that I want. Because did you know that Worbla, once it's cooled down, will hold its shape? This is where I want the wings and the main thing added. So now it's time to actually make the ears. I cut out the Worbla pieces slightly bigger than the foam ears, and I heat them up with my heat gun. I bought my heat gun at a local hardware store. But you can also get them on Amazon, and I will put some links below so you can find them yourself. And then to cover the ears and Worbla, I do exactly the same as I did with the headpiece base. So I put a piece of Worbla below and on top of the foam piece, and then I will heat it up so it gets soft and sticky. And then with my hands I will push it on the sides so the Worbla will close. And then with my scissors I cut it out around the edge, so I will have my ear. If you want to use Worbla, then you have to make sure that you heat up the material. Of course, I use my heat gun and I put it on a temperature of about 330 degrees Celsius. The Worbla needs to be about 70 degrees to make it workable. Because if it's heated up, it will actually get sticky and soft, and you can stretch it out and mold it in any shape that you want, and after it cools down again, it will stay in that shape. So you can make anything out of it what you want. And also, don't get rid of the scraps, because you can use them again. I will show this in the next steps. But first, let's finish the ear. So with the back of a butter knife, I actually smooth out the seams on the edges of the ear. This will really make it look like one ear and not two pieces of Worbla put together. I also press into the hole of the ear to really make it stand out. And I also use some wooden clay modeling tools to really help me to exaggerate the edges and the details. I do the same with the little lines that I cut into the foam earlier, and now you see why I cut those lines. So now they are really nice and they look just very cool. The little triangles in the ears now are still fully covered with Worbla, so you don't really see them very well. So what I'm doing is heating them up again so the Worbla will become soft again. And then, with my scissors, I will actually cut away the Worbla that I don't need, really showing the triangles that I made. With my fingers I just smooth out the edges of the seams, and of course I keep cutting until I cut out all the triangles. And I also use the wooden tools to make it look neater. These tools can actually be bought at craft stores, but you can also get them online, so I will be sure to post a link in the comments. No, not in the comments, in the video description. And of course I will also post the links where you can find Worbla yourself. Worbla is actually made in Germany, but you can buy it over the whole world. And there is a link that I will show with you. Now I want to attach the ears to the headpiece base. If you want to put two Worbla things together, you have to heat them up, both of them, because that way the adhesive in the Worbla will activate, and that will make it possible to stick the two pieces together, so you don't need any glue. Now let's add some smaller leaves as details to the headpiece. It wouldn't be Leafian without some leaves, right? So I cut some leaf shapes out of craft foam. Of course, I made these patterns before and you can download them from my website. Then I cut out two pieces of Worbla that are slightly bigger than the foam shapes for each of the leaves. Then I heat up the Worbla pieces, and again I put the foam on top of one of the Worbla pieces and put another Worbla piece on top of that. Then with my fingers I press it close at the edges so the sandwich is closed. Then with my scissors I cut it out around the edge. I make sure not to cut off too much and also not too little, because then it will look the nicest. I take a little scrap of Worbla and then cut a really tiny line out of it. I told you not to throw away the scraps, right? So now I just heat it up and I will use it as a detail on this leaf. Oh, I see there's an air bubble. When there's an air bubble in your Worbla, you can just poke it with a pin and then expel the air and the bubble is gone. So okay, now we're going to add the little line in the center of the leaf. I just heat it up and press it on the leaf so it will fully adhere and stick to it. With my wooden clay modeling tools I finish the shape, and of course I also carve some lines in it so it will actually look like a leaf. To do this, the Worbla needs to be warm first, but also take care that you don't heat it up too much, because you can actually burn the Worbla. But you will know this. If it happens once, you will know how much you can heat up the Worbla. And these simple but lovely details really make a difference to the leaf. To be able to attach the leaves to the headpiece base, again, I need to heat up both the leaves and the headpiece base, so both of those pieces are sticky. And then just put them on the spot where I want them. And when they're on the right spot, I just press them down with my fingers to really stick them down. I repeat this with all the other leaves that I made. And it's really important to use some pressure to stick them on, because otherwise they can fall off later. And you don't want that to happen, of course. And the finishing piece on the top of the headpiece is the little lock of hair. Is it hair or is it a leaf as well? So I just heat that thing up and stick it to the headpiece. With some more little Worbla scraps, I just add a few extra lines, so it looks like the full headpiece is actually covered with leaves. Of course we need more leaves, so I made some more leaves and attached them to the sides of the headpiece. I tried to make this as symmetrical as possible, but it's rather difficult. To finish the edge of the headpiece base, I cut out some scraps of Worbla in little strips and heated them up and attached them to the sides. This will really finish the edge off, and it looks super nice. If you know me, then you also know that those are not enough details yet. So, to add some more interest to the headpiece, I decided to add some swirly lines. To make these swirly lines, I actually take little scraps of Worbla, put them together, heat them up, and sculpt them into little Worbla snakes, as you see here. And when they're fully warmed up, they are usable as clay, like you see me doing here. And then they also stick to the other Worbla, so it's really useful to use this to make some details on your pieces. And even more, of course, because you can never have enough details, right? Do you like making details as much as I do as well? Or am I just a very crazy, detail-addicted cosplayer? Let me know! So now the headpiece is fully crafted, it's also important to find some way to attach it to my head. And for this I'm using Worbla's meshed art. That's a light brown Worbla that's very smooth on one side, and it has a mesh fabric on the other side. This makes it very, very strong. And it's also super sticky. And of course it sticks to the other Worblas. To attach the strap to the headpiece, I heat up the ends of the strap, only the ends, because I don't want it to be all wibbly wobbly. And I also heat up a little spot on the inside of the headpiece. Then I stick them on. Of course, before this I measured how long they should be to fit on my head. And then I use some pressure to really make it stick to the headpiece. Because this type of warbler is so strong and also very flexible, it's super nice to use for attachments like this. And then I also want a strap that goes over the back of my head, and I just do exactly the same. I make sure to use the smooth side of the meshed warbler to stick it, because that's the side that doesn't have the mesh, so it has the most sticking power, obviously. And then that's how the finished headpiece looks like. Obviously it's not painted yet, but now you actually saw how I made the whole thing using Worbla. Don't you like it? I do. And of course it fits on my own head too. Yay! It's done and finished. The headpiece for Leafeon. And the question of the day is, did you make a headpiece with Worbla before? And for what costume was it? Or maybe you have an idea that you want to make and that you need a headpiece for. So please let me know in the comments, because I would really love to know that. If you want monthly ebooks about cosplay and also signed prints and digitalized patterns about cosplays that I make, then be sure to check out my Patreon. I will link it, so you can check it out. It has a lot of different tiers where you can choose what you want to get. Every month I write a full ebook about a cosplay that I made, and I also digitalize some patterns so that you can use them for yourself. I also have patterns for this headpiece available that you can actually download from a link. I'm going to put it in the description as well, so you can download patterns. This was a Patreon reward at first, but after that I put it for download on my website, so now you can get it too. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you liked this video, and be sure to check out my other Worbla videos in the playlist that I will put somewhere. And if you didn't subscribe already, then now is the time to do that. I will wait a little bit.
A few moments later.
Yeah, you did! Thank you so much. That means that we will see each other again in the next video. Bye bye!